be sure to stick around to the end of the video for more information on Miraculous, Tales of Love and War, the audiobook, its voice actors, and the sequel coming soon. Hello and welcome back, my fairies. I am Matsuyorific, and we are back with another reaction and analysis video. So, last time didn't really go as well as I had hoped. YouTube is a serious butt when it comes to reaction videos. I still like getting my reactions out to you guys, but unfortunately I won't be able to react to the episodes the same way that I react to the trailers. I really wish that I could, but unfortunately YouTube just does not like me. I mean, YouTube's always hated me, but it just does not like me when it comes to reactions. So, unfortunately, no camera this time, but we do have another piece of art on the screen. This is Adrien using the Butterfly Miraculous from my fanfiction, Tales of Love and War, as Apollo. And I absolutely love his name, and I absolutely love what he technically means, because, you know, it's Nuru getting to be a hero again, and it's like, oh, yay. But, anyways, aside from that, I wanted to go ahead and do a pre-thoughts before actually watching the video. I have not watched the episode yet. So to go over what we already know, the synopsis basically states that Mark and Nathaniel are trying to come up with a plan to get Marinette to be able to confess her feelings to Adrien, but Chloe manages to record the meeting and threatens to tell Gabriel that they're planning this whole thing so that he will pull Adrien out from school. And it's like, Chloe, if you still like Adrien, then why would you want him to be pulled out from school? And if you don't care about him anymore, like you said in the previous episode, Queen Banana, why do you care? I mean, it's Chloe, so obviously she's a petty little brat, but still, you know, why does she care? So after that, after she makes her threat, there's some sort of event going on at the Agreste Manor, and Gabriel is actually gonna be there in person, but Marinette is going to be crashing, and she's going to be wearing her moustache to try and hide her disguise. I guarantee Chloe's gonna see right through it, though. So that she can, I'm guessing so that she could try to figure out a way to tell Adrien before Gabriel pulls him from school and before Chloe can show him the video. That, or to try to find a way of erasing the video before she can show it to him. But aside from that, Felix and Amelie are also going to be there, and we saw from the second trailer that Gabriel's Miraculous gets flashed by accident, and Felix manages to see that, so Gabriel creates a Senti monster of himself to akumatize, to basically be like, hey, guess what? I can't be Shadowmoth because you're literally seeing me getting akumatized right here, even though it's a Senti monster, but nobody knows that. So that is meant to throw Felix off from what I can tell, but there's still going to be another scene at the end where they confront each other. It's not really clear if that's going to be the real Gabriel or if that's going to be Senti Gabriel, but we'll see. So that is about all we know for now. So hopefully this doesn't disappoint me the way that Ephemeral did. I thought that episode was going to break me, but that last third act was just... Hopefully this will be more up to the quality that I've come to expect from Season 4, because other than Ephemeral, Season 4 has been really, really good. It has me, and it is time that it has me watch it again. So let's get into it. Okay, first big reaction. Kagami just gave Adrien the perfect out. She just shoves him in his room and is like, hide here! Then she grabs her saber. And it's like, okay, blind close out, because I'm all alone. Okay, that was fast. Like, I feel like that was even faster than an Ephemeral. They beat the villain this time. It's like, good lord. I mean, I guess, you know, it's not... The focus of the episode isn't actually fighting the Collector. The focus is Marinette trying to get the phone back from Chloe, or rather the SD card, and then Gabriel trying to get his ring back from Felix, and Felix trying to be like, no, I know that you're Shadow Moth and you're not going to trick me into thinking that you're not. But, you know, that was still a really fast way to end it. It's like, the villain shows up, the heroes show up, lucky charm, plan, it's done. It's like, that was really fast. Oh dear, and now I have to wonder, what is he planning on doing with that? Well, that is the end of that. I literally just finished watching the episode. Not a whole lot of reaction to go on this time around. There were a couple of moments that definitely stood out, like the whole thing with Kagami. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and watch this episode one more time before I get into my review and analysis and closing thoughts. I do already have some thoughts, for example, it looks like things were a little awkward still between Adrien and Kagami, even though we definitely see that they have made up by the time that we get to Glaciator 2, so that's definitely going to be an interesting thing to look at. But I'm going to go ahead and rewatch the episode one more time and be right back, my fairies! Okay, so now that I have watched the episode twice, it is time to go over what we have for this episode. So, the episode starts off with what I presume to be the end of another battle, because we see Shadow Moth in his lair, and he's talking to himself again, talking about, obviously, something is different, something is not the same, I will defeat you, Ladybug, blah blah blah. And then he goes down and talks to Emily and says kind of more of the same thing. But then we get into the really interesting part, which is Felix watching a video from the Ladyblog talking about the miraculous and, the difference between, Ladybug and Cat Noir, and then Hawkmoth and Myra. Shadowmoth doesn't actually appear, but that does make sense because we've only had one chance to see Shadowmoth out in public, which hasn't actually happened yet by the time of this episode. So at this point, she wouldn't have a picture of Shadowmoth like she would of Hawkmoth and Myra. So that wouldn't be accessible to her yet. So that's definitely an interesting thing to take note of, is that we see Hawkmoth instead of Shadowmoth in the video. An interesting little detail. But then we get to see him and his mother, Felix and his mother, being actually kind of cute. They've got this cute little thing with her kissing her hand, and then she passes it on to him, and they, kind of like a short high five, and it's actually kind of cute and adorable, and it makes me wonder if Emily is anything like how Amelie acts. Like, we know that Amelie isn't as good as she pretends to be, but at the same time, it kind of feels like she's not fully aware of how devious her son is. Because at the end of Felix, she says that she's not sure how Felix always seems to get what he wants. But she does seem to be under the impression that Gabriel willingly gave the ring to Felix and that Felix didn't steal it. After that, we cut to Natalie's room, and my goodness, Adrien bringing her breakfast, or I guess lunch, is just so super sweet. It's like, oh, he cares about Natalie. She's part of the family. She really is. The only person who doesn't see that is Gabriel. It's like, oh, I feel bad for her that Gabriel just can't see what's right in front of him. But Adrien does, and he's bringing her lunch, and it's so cute on this little cart. And then he talks about how he's kind of sad that he can't invite any of his friends to this event. I have to wonder if part of that is because, he can't invite Marinette, who he knows is into fashion and would really benefit from this sort of event, being able to mingle with all these high names in the fashion business. But it doesn't specify Marinette, he just specifies his friends. But it totally does make sense why Gabriel would want this to be a closed event. I mean, it's not very often that Gabriel Agreste, of all people, has such a huge party at his own house. Like, this is a huge step for him, and he comes in and he asks Adrien to leave so he can talk to Natalie alone, and it's like, you start to see just how nervous he is about having all these people, but it's less about the people and more about he's not sure he can do this without Natalie. It's like, dude, open up your eyes and see what is right in front of you. You can still love your wife, but also find new love in Natalie. Look at what's right in front of you already. But then we wouldn't have a story, would we? So he talks to Natalie, and she goes over everything that he needs to do, that she would normally take care of for him, but he's got to do all this himself now. And they talk about, how they specifically invited Felix over to try to get the ring back, but Gabriel's having second thoughts. He's not sure about actually being able to do this, but he knows that he can't cancel because otherwise the guests won't really understand what's going on. It's like, well, why did you cancel if you were just going... It's like, why did you invite us all over if you were just going to cancel? After that, we get the scene that we mentioned before. I swear I did not see the synopsis before I reacted to that first trailer where I suspected that they might be trying to come up with that plan, but this is pretty much, exactly as the synopsis described, exactly as I said earlier at the beginning of the video, so there's not really much to go through on that. Although, I did really enjoy the storybook aspects. Like, it was kind of cringy, but in the kind of cringe that you expect from Miraculous. Like, with Marinette being the knight in shining armor and Adrien is the princess that she has to rescue from the Wicked Witch, which is his father. Like, this definitely sounds like an interesting fanfiction at the very least. Fanfic writers, to your keyboards. I've got a different fanfiction that I'm working on right now, otherwise this would actually be kind of tempting. But, it's playing on the whole reverse trope of, the handsome knight saves the beautiful princess, except it's the beautiful knight who saves the handsome princess. More role reversal and everything. It's like, this one I can actually see, when they're not... when you flip the scripts like this, it's fine. It's just when they do it in a way that it's showing a female character doing something that we know is bad from a male character, that is the thing I have issues with. But this is fine. This is fine, because it's just, flipping the whole fairy tale trope on its head. And the analogy is definitely there, Adrien does need to be saved from his father. He does. He really does. But they have this whole storybook thing, fantasy, and it's like fairy godmothers, and it's kind of like a combination of different fairy tales like Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. But then Chloe comes in and shows them the video, and they do acknowledge the fact that, Chloe was supposed to be happy about Adrien being at school, and she's like, well... what matters to me is that he's not around you losers. It's like, kind of shaky, but okay. But they do explain it later on that it's less about her wanting to... It's less about her feelings for Adrien and more that she just wants to mess with Marinette. That's it. It's not even about Adrien, it's about Marinette to her. So they come up with a plan for Marinette to sneak into the party, and they did a good job of acknowledging all of the potential plot holes, having Chloe explain why she's okay with Adrien being locked in his house again, explaining why Zoe's not going to be at the party when the only reason Chloe's going to be there is because she's Audrey's daughter. They do a pretty good job of explaining all these little plot holes that could have potentially been there, so, props to them for that. So Zoe uses her acting skills to trick their poor butler into thinking that the party is somewhere else so that he's not going to come. And can I just say how sad it is that the butler and the bodyguard are both completely nameless? Like, their quote-unquote names are John something or other and the Gorilla. Like, can we give these two some names, please? Like, proper names? I feel bad calling them the butler and the bodyguard. But regardless, they come up with their plan to have Marinette replace the bourgeois butler so that she can go into the party, and she uses her clumsiness to her advantage to basically get past the whole fingerprint scanners and manages to sneak in pretty well. She almost gets caught by Adrien, but she manages to convince him that he doesn't know her. Oh, I don't know anybody here. It's like, that would have only worked on Adrian. It's only because he's so pure and innocent. But she manages to make her way in, and they, of course, have to leave their phones behind, which upsets Chloe because she can't show her video to Gabriel now. So she's got to come up with a plan to get her phone back so that she can show the video to Gabriel at the party that she's not actually invited to, because she and the other kids have to stay in Adrian's room. But then Felix decides to sneak off on his own, and he spots Gabriel going into Natalie's room where they talk, and he overhears their conversation up to a certain point, but then he does have to leave, and then he misses them talking about the fact that Gabriel is in fact Shadowmoth, and talking about his plan to try and akumatize Felix so that he can get his ring back. Of course, at this point, he's already seen the Miraculous and has already started to suspect that Gabriel might actually be Shadowmoth. So we get the scene of the kids in Adrian's room, and Chloe is, of course, she's getting ready to storm off, and then Felix sneaks away. But then we get this scene between Adrian and Kagami, and Adrian looks kind of nervous, and Kagami seems like really, she glares at Adrian like, girl, I thought you guys were over this. Maybe they have a scene in Psychomedian, but we've seen every episode between this and Glaciator 2 where she was comfortable enough to actually talk to Adrian when she noticed that he was sad, and to try and convince Marinette to confess his feelings for him. So it's like, are you still on the fence about being friends with him at this point or not? Because we haven't seen any other scenes of them making up or anything. So it's like, where did that happen? I guess maybe just off screen or something? It's not really explained. But after Felix sneaks off, he spots Gabriel, or at this point, Senti Gabriel, going into his office, and Senti Gabriel manages to hide so that Felix can go in and explore the office on his own, thinking that nobody's in there. And he walks up to the painting of Emily, and it's like, actually kind of sweet. Like, does he miss his aunt? Like, he smiles looking at the painting, and he's about to touch it very gently, and it's like, oh, like, he does have a heart. He actually cares about his aunt. But then Senti Gabriel comes in and threatens Felix, being like, you need to give me back my ring, otherwise I could make you disappear with a snap. And Felix calls him out on being Shadowmoth, and he's like, well, I don't need to be Shadowmoth, just think of how your mother would feel if you disappeared. It's like, I don't need to be Shadowmoth, I'm Gabriel Agreste. And then the real Shadowmoth tries to use that threat to akumatize Felix as planned. But for the second time, technically the fourth time, but this is the second time that we've seen somebody resist before actually getting fully akumatized, Felix actually manages to resist getting akumatized and comes up with a very clever plan on the spot. He takes off his cufflink and he slides and uses it to rip the pants on Senti Gabriel. Just at the very bottom, near the hem, he manages to rip the seam so that he can tell later on if that really is Gabriel Agreste or if that's some sort of fake, like a Senti monster, because he's seen the video, so he knows about the Senti monsters now. He knows about the Peacock Miraculous and his powers. So he does that so that he can check later to see if his uncle really is Shadowmoth, and then he runs off, which is when Natalie gives Gabriel the idea to akumatize his Senti monster to become the Collector. So he didn't akumatize himself to throw Felix off like we'd originally thought. Rather, he akumatized his Senti monster because he couldn't akumatize Felix. And I have to wonder, what would Felix's villain name be? Because we didn't actually hear the villain name. But anyway, Senti Gabriel gets turned into the Collector, and now he's got his tablet, which he throws around and manages to collect Chloe, who confesses that the only reason she was trying to show off this video was just to hurt Marinette. She doesn't say anything about Adrian. She just says that she wants to hurt Marinette because, quote, she is evil. And I've never really bought that she was actually evil, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those nurture versus natures. She's being nurtured into a villain. I would kind of like to make a video analyzing her character later on, but that is for a different video if I ever get around to it. So after that, we get the scene that made me laugh so hard. Kagami is like, nope, I'm going to protect you, Adrien, get in your room, stay here. And since Adrien is the only one in his room now, he can go ahead and transform freely. He now has an out. It's like, yeah, he's hiding because Kagami hid him in his room. So Kagami actually tries to fight the Collector. Powers be darned, she is fighting back, and of course, she gets collected. So Marinette, seeing what's going on, manages to sneak away to transform as well. She and Cat Noir fight the Collector, and as I said before, it's a very short fight sequence. Like, it takes place within just a couple of minutes. That's it. I mean, but unlike Ephemeral, I actually get it this time around because, you know, that's not the focus of the episode. The focus is everything between Gabriel and Felix. And while it wasn't the focus of Ephemeral either, it still just felt kind of rushed in Ephemeral. Here, they're giving focus where focus is needed, whereas Ephemeral didn't really give as much focus on everything that it could have been. We didn't get much focus on the post-reveal. We got a little bit, but everything was just so rushed. It really would have been better if it was a two-parter. This one, I feel like, is fine as a standalone episode. So, Ladybug uses her lucky charm and gets a trampoline. They do the whole plate thing, and she has Cat Noir basically ricochet his stick off of a whole bunch of stuff onto the trampoline and hits the Collector so that they can destroy the tablet. How he managed to get all of that, I don't know. It's like, she didn't even tell him that that was her plan. He just somehow knew that that was her plan. And he somehow managed to get that in one go. That is kind of amazing when you think about it. But they managed to deakumatize the Senti monster, which they don't realize is a Senti monster, and he's still playing off in public that he gave the ring to Felix. It's like, he definitely could have called Felix out and say that, you know, Felix stole the ring. Like, even if he was just as the Collector saying, he stole my ring. But no, he still doesn't say that. He just, you know, plays along that he's the one who gave Felix the ring, and then he gives Felix back the copy that Felix tried to give him earlier that he knows is a fake. But that's also partially why he's so willing to do that, because he knows it's fake. Of course he's going to separate himself from that. But for all he knows, Adrien's probably there somewhere. He definitely knows Amelie is there. And so it's like, okay, yeah, everybody's watching. I'll just pretend that this is what's going on. I'll give it back to you. And that is when Ladybug gives him the magic charm. And this is the interesting part. So we do see at the beginning that he's still not sure exactly how she's managing to make things different now that she's the Guardian. He just knows that things have changed since she became the Guardian. But now he has a magic charm, and will be able to figure out how to defeat it when it comes to Dearest Family. So after that, Chloe comes in and I kind of forgot to mention this earlier. She stole Bob Roth's phone, which is why we saw him in the trailer, and put her SIM card in his phone. But then he steals the phone back at this point and deletes the video, so Marinette doesn't have to worry about it. Chloe is defeated once again. And Gabriel and Natalie then have a conversation similar to how Reina Rouge and Ladybug discussed the grimoire in Mr. Pigeon 72 when they figured out that Ladybug could create the magic charms. So they realize that, you know, there's still more to the miraculouses than what's in the grimoire. And then when Gabriel leaves the room, Felix notices that the rip that he made on Senti Gabriel's pants is no longer there. But it was there when he saw his uncle get deakumatized. So now Felix knows for certain that Gabriel Agreste is Shadowmoth. So he now knows, without a doubt, that his uncle is Shadowmoth. So we get another scene at the end with Marinette and her friends, but then we get another scene, like that whole scene with Marinette and her friends, that's not really much to talk about. But then we get one final clip of Gabriel putting a fake Peacock and Butterfly Miraculous in his little vault there. And it's fake because there's no way he would take them off. So he puts those into the vault. My guess is that he's probably figured out that Felix might still know that he is Shadow Moth, and will probably try to come back. He specifically says that he has a surprise waiting for when Felix comes back. So, one way or another, one of the remaining episodes is going to have Felix coming back. My guess is that it's going to have something to do with possibly Kuroneko or the series finale. The reason I'm thinking Kuroneko is because Kuroneko is Japanese for black cat or cat noir. So that's why I'm thinking that he could be Kuroneko because, it's like the Japanese version of his cousin, Adrian. So that could be why. Obviously it could also just be the last episode too. We don't really know anything about the remaining episodes. So, it could also be Penultime, but I highly doubt that it will be Penultime. We already know it's not going to be Kilin, because that's going to be the episode where Marinette's mother gets akumatized. But it could also still be the finale, too. We don't really know much about these remaining episodes, other than the fact that the finale is going to have Marinette thinking that it might be time to tell Adrian who she is so that he doesn't leave Paris. That's about all we really know. That and that Lila's going to be coming back, finally. She has been missing all season. We have only seen her in one episode so far, which was Mega Leech. And that was all the way in the back, where... Well, no, we saw her also in Guilt Trip as well. So yeah, we see her in Mega Leech and Guilt Trip in the back of the class, but that's it. She's just sitting in the back and it's like doing nothing, like, yeah, I don't care about what's going on. I'm just here in the background. Just to remind us that she's there, I guess. But, this is the last episode that we are going to be getting for a while. The show is going on hiatus for a while. So I do suspect that the next time the show comes back, we will be getting the last 6 episodes. So we are still waiting on Psychomedian, Kilin, Kuroneko, Penultime, Risk, and Strike Back. So, let's just hope that these writers leave us with some sense of sanity at the end of this season, because, good lord, this has been the best season of the entire series so far. Like, aside from Ephemeral, Ephemeral is really the only episode that I've had any actual issue with this season. I have been really loving season 3. Like, we've only seen one instance of Stalker Marinette, and it was for the sake of her trying to get Kagami back together with Adrian. Not for herself, but for Kagami. Like, yes, you could say that there was a little bit of Stalker Marinette in this episode, but that wasn't really Marinette as much as it was her friends, and you could actually kind of see why she was doing it, because Chloe's a brat. And she was trying to deal with the fact that Chloe was trying to sabotage not just her, but also Adrian being able to come back to school, because if she really cared about Adrian, then she wouldn't want him to be stuck in his house. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of not really fair to Adrian. Which is one of the things that I liked about Cat Blanc, was that Marinette was willing to make this sacrifice, because what was more important to her was that Adrian not be locked up in his house, because she knows how important it is to him that he be able to go to school and everything. But, anyways, that is about all I have to say on this episode. So, moving on to the other topic that I mentioned earlier. For those of you who are unaware, I have my own Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction that I was working on throughout the month of October, and posted on October 31st, called Miraculous Tales of Love and War. It is a fanfiction which, for the most part, acknowledges the canon of Season 4 up until this point. However, I do ignore the change that they made to the wish and just keep with the original continuity of Gabriel is trying to revive his wife, because I honestly kind of like that better. I kind of prefer the whole law of equivalent exchange versus the whole rewrite the world to completely recreate it, because he doesn't really feel like you're sacrificing anything. And I also wrote this before Dearest Family and Ephemeral came out, so yeah, that was a thing. But anyways, there is a link in the description if you want to read it. However, if you are not a big fan of reading, I am also working on an audiobook version of the story, which is going to feature a couple of my friends as voice actors as well. So my friend and fellow Miraculous YouTuber TVC, the virtual celebrity, will be voicing Alia and Natalie. My old friend Keiko and Gilly will be voicing Adrian and Gabriel. And my new friend from the updated PokeRap project, DJ Jet Official, will be voicing Nino. And I will be playing the roles of all the other characters as well as the narrator. And I am so excited to be able to work with my friends on this project. It's been so long since I've worked with Keiko, and TVC and I have been wanting to do a project together for a while now. And then of course, you know, my new friend, I'm very excited to have made a new friend through all of this. I'm really excited to work with DJ Jet Official, and I honestly found it kind of ironic that he's also a black DJ playing Nino, a black DJ. And I thought that was kind of funny when he first offered. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. I am also working on a continuation to this fanfiction. At this point, I am not currently planning an audio version of the continuation. I don't even have a name for it yet, but it is currently planned to be a 7-chapter continuation, so it will be a post-reveal fanfiction with plenty of Adrianettes, both as fluff and a little bit of angst too, because we gotta stick with the whole thing where Bunnix said that they're less of a heart and more of a... So yeah, I definitely wanted to incorporate that a bit into my story, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys are too. So if you guys want to hear more about that, then definitely be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and to subscribe for more information. I post lots of community stuff all the time about the fanfic updates, so definitely look forward to that. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more videos from me. We do all sorts of fun stuff on this channel, including playing video games, we do art, and I'll sometimes talk about cartoons and anime. So if you enjoy this stuff, then be sure to ring that bell icon to never miss a video. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I hope you all have a very magical day.